Hello guys, welcome to another review. This time I'm going to reviewing the Italian destroyer Tier 7 Cuniberti, which you can get in early access from these loot crates. And from the next update, you'll be able to grind the Italian line even as a free player. So this should be interesting to everybody interested in destroyers. To cut a long story short, this is probably the most disappointing destroyer in Tier 7. And I will talk you through the next 30 minutes and three different games why this ship is not consistently performing, has a very high skill ceiling, and needs a very specific matchmaking to be able to perform. You can do some good games in it, but in average, you will not be able to perform like in any other Tier 7 destroyers, like in Fantasque, in Fletcher, in all these others. If you take 10 games, this will have the weakest average XP from all the tech tree destroyers. So my short verdict, and I will explain it the next 30 minutes, is it's a different play style, but it needs a big buff to enable the ship being played like I think Wargaming has meant it to be played. Okay, let's get started and let's talk you through what this is all about. The Italian destroyers, they have two unique setups. The first one is the rolling smoke. You might know this from the Italian cruisers. That means the smoke travels with you. So no matter how fast you go, you cannot overshoot the smoke. So basically you have 30 seconds of smoke and you can hit that any time and just keep moving, turning, whatever, the smoke will travel with you. The second are the SAP shells. These are basically HE shells, but semi-piercing, so they don't do damage any modules and they don't create fires like the HE bullets, but they hit harder versus destroyers. So they are very good against destroyers. These are the two unique things you get with these Italian destroyers. So one could think, oh, that's a great idea and the destroyer should be great to play. But the thing is, it lacks everywhere, and I'll tell you soon where. So I tried different setups. I tried Mr. Rizzi and put a pure gunboat setup on it, and you get a gun reload of 5.1 seconds. You get a concealment, which is very bad, and this is the big drawback. You usually get a concealment between 6.4 and 7.1, depending on how you play this ship. So if you play it long range because of the bad concealment, you have the long range torpedoes, but they are slow moving with 56 to 60 knots depending on your setup. So they are more like slow American or whatever torpedoes. But they are pretty sneaky, but they only do 10k base damage. You need a lot of torpedo hits and you need to be lucky to do much of damage. So because of your very bad concealment, you have to stay outside these 6.5, 7.1 kilometer range and torp everybody long range. Or you run this as an ambush ship. That means you close in full speed, you have a speed boost here, and you release your torpedoes. And that brings me to the point why ambushing doesn't work. You might know the Paolo Emilio, which is a perfect ambush ship. The Emilio has like 27, 28k HP. This one has at best like 21 or 20, something like that, depending on your setup. The torpedoes here, they hit with 10, 11k. The Paolo does 24k per torpedo. The range in Paolo is 6.5 or something like that, and here we have 12. But in an ambush ship, I don't need 12 kilometer. I need the HP damage in torpedoes. So the Paolo can perfectly rush in, survive with 28k HP. While this one has 20, it is very slow, much slower than the Paolo. Yes, it has a speed boost, but let's talk about speed. The speed basically is 40 knots, which is pretty okay and pretty decent for a destroyer. In average, most of them, they are below 40 knots base stats. And then Wargaming says, yeah, we give you a speed boost, and the speed boost is super powerful. Yes, the speed boost adds 25%, which is per se pretty good. But here's the drawback. The speed boost lasts only like half a minute or 40 seconds, something like that. So it brings you up to 50 knots, and a few seconds later you get down to 40 knots. And don't you dare to hit the rudder, because as soon as you turn the ship, your speed slows down to 33, 34 knots. So the truth is, this speed is probably one of the slowest ships around there. Every other average destroyer, like a Lightning or whatever, if you turn the Lightning, it speeds up to 38, 39 knots. But this one here is 33, 40 knots. And you can see with speed boost now, we're barely reaching 48, 49, and we're already with 10 seconds speed boost left. And see what happens after. You see, I just hit the rudder slightly, and the speed went back to 43, 42 knots. So turning the ship is like slamming the brakes, and yeah, and now we fall back. So this, on paper, this is this is a fast ship, Wargaming claims, but to be honest, this is garbage. This ship is one of the slowest around, and the speed boost is nonsense. They need to really boost the speed boost for 2 minutes or 90 seconds, but this is just a meme speed boost here. Then we have the rolling smoke. The rolling smoke is around 30 seconds if you go in the Rizzi gunboat setup. I personally found the ship better performing if I go with the other Italian destroyer commander I showed up before. It has the unique perk where you double the duration of the smoke extinguisher, and you get like 50 seconds rolling smoke, which is very good if you want to ambush or if you just want to shoot from smoke. So the thing is, with this ship, you have to use island coverage, like here, if I want to get to the Yugumu, because it would have spotted me 7.1 kilometer away. In this setup here, in this game, I'm running the 3 kilometer detection mod. That's why I'm not sitting at 6.4, but 7.1 kilometer. Because if you're using the rolling smoke in an ambush, you're basically blind, like here. I'm blind now, I can't see anything. But because of my 3 kilometer permanent detection, I can spot the Yugumu through the smoke while he cannot spot me. Okay, here I'm benefiting from the radar, that's why I'm seeing the Yugumu. But you see in a few seconds later in this game, the Yugumu will be killed because of my 3 kilometer detection. And this is what I find quite useful here, because the concealment anyway is very bad. So I put in some games, I put this 3 kilometer detection. But honestly, with 7.1 kilometer detection, you take yourself pretty much out of the game to contest any caps. So you're forced to play outside of any cap and do everything long range. The ship doesn't have AA. It's rated like 15 or so. So basically, in tier 7 you don't have AA. And remember, the carriers in tier 7, they are not a joke. They have long-lasting planes. They have hard-hitting planes. So once the carrier spots you, your only escape route is you have to put the smoke. You have to start the smoke generator, and that saves you 30 seconds or maximum 50 seconds. And yeah, 50 seconds might save you from one carrier attack, but again, you have a cooldown of 2.5 minutes. So if the carrier spots you, you will be out of the game for the next 3-4 minutes. So which means you can't reach the cap, because with 7 or 6.5 kilometer detection, you can't even get close to a cap before any other destroyer will spot you, and the whole team smacks into your face, the whole red team. So you have 4 smokes, maybe even 5 if you get the right legendary perk. But it really doesn't help you much because you need the smoke to get into action. But once you're there, you're pants down. You don't have any smoke left to get in cover again because the smoke is so short lasting. The ship is so slow, it takes ages to get into action. Like you see here all the time, I'm cruising with 34, 35, 36. So don't have Wargaming tell you this is a fast ship. No, garbage. This is a slow ship. And the speed boost is garbage with 30 seconds. You need a matchmaking without a carrier, because if you have with a carrier, you're basically doomed to stay outside the action. You have to stay outside long range, or you have a map where you have many small islands and you can sneak up on the enemy. I will show you in the following games how I do it. But if you have to come through the open, forget about it. You cannot carry any game. Talking about carrying, in this ship you cannot carry anything. You can be happy to hit some random torpedoes long range. You can be happy to find somebody behind an island and you can ambush it. But beware, it's a high HP battleship, because your torpedoes may be too weak to sink it in a death strike, and then you're doomed again because they have a 3-kilometer detection mod. So it's very hard to get there. It's not like a Fantasque where you approach them with 60 knots. No, you approach them with 40, and best case is end of 40 knots for like 20 seconds, but that's it. And so this is not really an ambush ship. It's an ambush ship behind an island if you're lucky to find a sitting duck. But beside of that, you have to stay long range. You cannot get into a cap because you don't have any detection. And the ship has some performance medium range. So you can use the SAP against ships, or do some fires medium to long range while running the smoke generator. And if you take Fulgosi like I do usually, you have 50 seconds times 4, so that means you have 200 seconds you can fire from smoke. You can ignite some fires, but only if you have a spotter. If you don't have a spotter and your team goes down quickly, you cannot carry. In most of the other tier 7 standard destroyers, you can carry the team. Because either the torpedoes are hard hitting, or you have some sort of detection like sonar or radar or whatever. But here in this ship, you don't have anything. You're basically blind 2 kilometers line of sight. And if you dare to fire from smoke, the fire from smoke penalty occurs, which means you can be spotted from, I think, 5 kilometers or something. I don't know what is the penalty at the moment. So it's not the 2 kilometer line of sight, but it's probably like 5 kilometers. And yeah, that limits the potential to fight close range from smoke. So you need to sit at long range and spam HE or SAP long range for 2 minutes or 200 seconds. And that is the best what this ship can do. So the ship has a hard time to consistently perform in the average game. You can have some good games in this game if the setup is really perfect. If you don't have a carrier, if you have a lot of battleships, if you have a spotter, if your team doesn't go down quickly, then you can have a quite okay game. But you cannot carry in this ship, and this would be my yeah, let's say least favorite pick if I had to pick a tier 7 tech destroyer. And I should be carrying my team. You see, in this game I go up against the Fletcher. I'm using the island cover because this is my only hope I can reach the Fletcher with this bad concealment of 6.4. Here I don't use the 3-kilometer detection mod. I think I'm using Fulgosi in this game here. So I'm trying to get around. I'm trying to get into the 2-kilometer hard spotting range, so the Fletcher will be able to see me as well. The red team will be able to see me, so I need to sink him quickly because I will be using HP here. But this is the way you play an ambush ship, and you can see what is the result of an ambush here. So honestly, this ship is not really an ambush ship. An ambush ship is the Emilio. An ambush ship is the bulletproof, which has better HP in tier 6. which is much faster and consistently faster, and so on and so forth. So yeah, you bring down a Fletcher or another tier 7 ship, but you see I lost half of my health, and what do you do with 10k and 6.5 kilometer detection? The only thing you can do in this ship is grab some caps and hope for the best of your team. So you see I did 4,500 damage here. There's not too much I can do. So I'm getting the cap here. I'm heading off for the Thous cap. I'm going for the C cap later. I'm spamming some fires and getting some fire damage from the distance. So I'm getting some XP for this game, and yeah, I can give an average performance, but you could do that in any other tier 7 destroyer the same way. So there's nothing special about this destroyer, and that's why my verdict is so devastating. This destroyer needs an urgent buff. It needs 15 seconds more smoke. It needs a reduced fire rate. The best what you can get here is with Rizzy is 5.1 seconds. I suggest to bring it down with Rizzy to 4 seconds. It needs more speed. The speed boost is by far too short. It needs like 90-second speed boost. Then you get the ship somewhere where it should be at tier 7. Remember, you get against tier 8 as well. You have lots of radar in this. The ship is really a sitting duck and can't do anything because of the bad concealment. The concealment should go down half a kilometer, so 0.5. So I should be sitting at 5.9 in this configuration at least, if you do all the other changes. But Wargaming needs to decide what this ship is supposed to be. I think they have nerfed it to oblivion, and as the state is right now, I cannot recommend you guys grinding the line. Maybe tier 8 is gonna be better, I don't know about this. But I have not much hope having played tier 7. So at the moment, save your money, don't get early access. This is my recommendation, because this ship needs several buffs, not only one. It's completely out of the line. If you play this ship an SAP gunboat with Rizzy, your concealment is 6.7, and again you can use the smoke to get into action, but once, let's say, imagine you go against the Friesland, imagine you go against the Fletcher, as soon as a radar hits you, you're dead, and your SAP shells are simply too slow. They have 5.1 or 5.4, depending on the captain, seconds reload, and it's just 120 millimeter. So the French have 139, the Germans have 150. You can't even pen any cruisers. Yes, SAP does like 2,600 damage per shell. So in average, I get like a 3k salvo against destroyer with 6 bullets. But yeah, against destroyers, this is the only nice thing. It hits quite okay. But reload is too slow. In tier 7, you have a lot of ships. They come up with a reload starting from Friesland with 1.5. The ZF6 with reload booster is 1.6 seconds with 6 guns. You have the Fletcher with 2 point something. You have even the Lightning is at 4 seconds with 6 guns. The Tashkent is at 4 seconds each guns. The Le Fantasque is it does have like 6 seconds, but you bring it down to 3 seconds with 15 seconds reload booster. So it has to stand up against destroyers with a much better reload, and only to compensate it with the better hitting SAP shells. But with the low HP, my bet is in a one-on-one against any of these destroyers. If I would be sitting in any of the other destroyers and playing against myself, I would win 100% of the battles, or maybe 99, because I might catch a lucky torpedo. And one positive thing is the firing angles for the angles for the torpedoes are quite good. They are more like Fantasque, so they're pretty forward. That helps you in an ambush situation. But then again, there's only one launcher going forward. Not like Fantasque or all the French ones, they have all their launchers going forward. No, you have only one, and that means to make use of the second, you always have to go full broadside, and that is another big drawback. Wargaming should enable the second torpedo launcher to go forward. That would improve the ship's performance quite a bit. But with one launcher and having to show broadside all the time, that's a big drawback here. And so you see the ship has so many drawbacks. It's slow, the torpedoes don't hit hard. Yes, they are long range, but they're again slow, they do low damage. The gun have SAP, but they have a slow reload. The concealment is very bad. The ship is very slow moving with 35, 36 in average, because as soon as you turn, you're down with speed. So yeah, to be honest, this is the weakest tier 7, maybe next to Caprice, but Caprice is a premium ship, so you can't really compare that. But in the tech tree ships, in my opinion, currently this is the weakest tier 7. And if you don't have all the other tier 7, grind any other line before you grind this line. If you're a veteran and you have all the destroyers, yeah, you can get it, but I wouldn't rush it with early access. You don't miss out anything. I think you should be waiting for Wargaming to buff the ship, because for sure my promise is they're gonna buff it, because nobody's gonna play this ship. It has a very high skill ceiling, and I think I'm not the worst DD player around, so I know a thing or two, and if I really struggle to get a consistent performance in this game, and I haven't had a single 3K game out of 16 games I played in this ship, and usually at let's say every 3-4 games I have a 3K game in tier 7 destroyers. That speaks a lot, and I put the stats of my 16 games in the end, and I think my average XP is like 1500 out of 15-16 games, and you can see how bad this destroyer performs. You can't rack up much damage. The average game is very low damage, so this is pretty much an average game, or these threes are the better games. You see here are the 3 games I put in here, because the others have been even worse, because the carrier got me, or I got spotted and wiped by radar or whatever. So really there's a small margin of errors, and you have to stay outside the concealment range, and that limits the damage potential of your torpedoes, because they're very slow moving. So the ships have a long time to turn around. So there's so many drawbacks for this ship. I really cannot recommend to play the ship. You're ruining your stats. You should be going for any other tier 7 destroyer. You can have a more consistent and better performing and carrying games for your team. In this one, your team needs to carry you. They need to spot for you. They need to kill the radar ships. They need to engage the dangerous ships. If they don't do, you're screwed. So there's not much you can do in this ship. You're just, let's say, a Me Too ship. Yes, I have been in that game. I have done some things. I maybe got a cap or two. I maybe sunk a ship or two. But you're not the carrier in this destroyer. So yeah, save your time, save your money, save your energy. Go for something else until Wargaming buffed this ship. So this is my verdict, and I'll leave you alone with this ship. In the end of this game, I'm gonna engage a ZF-6 with a reload booster, and there you can see SAP in action, because he was rushing me, and I was lucky he got into my concealment range, close range. So I was able to get 2-3 SAP salvos off, but at the same time he got me. So yeah, you can see what SAP can do if you get close range, but this is probably about the best what this ship can do. And these are just few moments and few ships it can really penetrate, and that is why I said this ship can perform in a very specific situation, which is against other destroyers, if they are singled out, if the team can't hit you. But if the other 2 ships in the end of the game had been around the corner, after 1 salvo I would have been dead and couldn't have done anything. So that again brings me to this ship isn't performing consistently. Performance is an exception in this ship. And that's it for now. Hit the thumbs up if you like the review, if you like the channel, subscribe for many more destroyer reviews. Again, this channel is dedicated to destroyers. I bring you all the latest news and reviews and tips and tricks for destroyers. And hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments and see you out there. And I hope I thank you out there.